Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Grant Palma from the Arlington Heights United Methodist Church. Welcome. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Almighty and just God, we humbly call upon you this morning, asking for your blessing and your guidance on all those entrusted with the care of the resources and the citizens of Tarrant County, especially the men and women gathered in this room this morning. We thank you for the opportunities and the freedoms that allow us to gather here. We ask you that you help us to never take them for granted. Lord, guide us and lead us to feel the burden of the honor of being your creatures everywhere we go and everywhere that we work, so that we may remember that we are called and enabled to serve one another. In your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Trying to get your you qualify as a sir.
This job, you don't really want a lot of people walking up behind you. Before we have several announcements as it relates to the agenda this morning. The first is under proclamations, resolutions, and presentations. It would be item 6A. This is a certificate of appreciation for Mr. Meadows. Unfortunately, he's not able to join us today, and we're going to hold that. If we can also now go to the administrator's section. Item 9A8. That is a memorandum of understanding between Tarrant County and the Arlington ISD. We'd like to remove that from the consent agenda. We believe we may have an individual from the ISD board here. We'll get to that. That gentleman may want to make some comments. Under the budget section, item 9C2, there's a revised court communication as it relates to the FY13 appropriation adjustments. I believe that's all we have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of May the 7th. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have some proclamations and some resolutions. But before we get started, I want to recognize, where's Catherine? There's Catherine. We had our senior synergy last week, and Catherine put that together, and she had a lot of help from Commissioner Fickus and his office, Carolyn and Rebecca, as well as I know all of your offices had folks out there helping, and I appreciate that very much. We had probably close to between 500 and 600 folks. So for the first time, we're very, for a first-time event, we're very, very pleased. We know we're still way behind Commissioner Fickus and his event, but it's a good start, and I think we're already beginning. I told Catherine she could have Friday off, and then she could start planning again yesterday. So, but I really want to thank her. I really want to thank all of the staff and everybody who helped with that. But again, thank you, Catherine, very much.
Judge, if I may, just for the record, I'd like to point out that Precinct 1's senior event was done about 3 weeks ago in collaboration with the African American Health Expo, and we served over 2,000 people
Great.
at that event.
That's great. Proclamation, I guess Commissioner Brooks, you have one for the Forest Hill Memorial Park?
I do. And Forest Hill continues to be my neck of the woods. It's where I was first elected to public office. I spent 6 years on the city council in Forest Hill. And I expressed to the representatives present this morning that those were 6 of the happiest years of my life. My children were young. I raised them in Forest Hill. They were part of the fabric of what goes on out there. So Forest Hill continues to have a very, very special place in my heart. This memorial park is designed to honor veterans who have some connection with the city of Forest Hill, whether they lived there or were related to someone who lives there. It's to honor all veterans, but particularly those who have a connection to the city of Forest Hill. There's a resolution, a proclamation. Judge, I would appreciate it if you would read that into the record this morning.
Okay, Forest Hill Memorial Park. Whereas the Forest Hill Memorial Park is open to every citizen in the United States to honor the military service contributions of the men and women of our armed forces and public safety officers. And whereas people from the area were invited to submit the names of men and women who have served or who are currently serving in the U.S. military, so that those names could be engraved on stone monument panels that have been created in the memorial area. And whereas the memorial area also includes a monument honoring POW MIA soldiers, as well as a monument honoring Forest Hill public safety officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty. And whereas a committee of volunteers and staff members secured 2.36 acres of land for the park at 4503 Forest Hill Circle, completed architectural and design work and began construction on March 2012. And whereas the park is built on property graciously donated by the family of Samuel Jean Pate, and successful real estate developer and U.S. Navy veteran who served as an aviation radioman and machine gunner during World War II. And whereas the park will also be a place to celebrate many multicultural festivities and encourage educational experiences by promoting family events such as Jazz in the Park, Cinco de Mayo, and Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim Monday, May the 27th, 2013, as Forest Hills Memorial Park Day throughout Tarrant County, and recognize the sacrifices our armed forces and public safety officers have made for our community. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 14th day of May, 2013.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Here this morning to accept this proclamation is Mayor Gerald Joubert and City Manager Shay Epai and several members of the City Council. Would y'all all join me at the podium? All the representatives from the City of Forest Hill. You too, Venus. Mayor, I need you over here.
Okay.
Sorry, you can't.
Make sure you can see the camera.
Oh, okay.
are good. Listen, watch the bird. Oh, okay. All right. I'm sure y'all understand that camera
Thank you.
is low bid.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mayor, members of the council.
I guess.
I'd like to thank Commissioner Brooks and the Commissioner's Court for this proclamation of our Memorial Park. But, you know, we could not do this without the thousands and thousands of hours of volunteer work that was done by our committee. No one's paid. Staff has worked on it, was Venus. But, you know, without a vision, the people perish. It's one thing to have a vision, but it's another thing to fund the vision. And that's where our city manager came in and helped us fund a vision for Forest Hill. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Fickus.
Yes, I have a resolution for Dr. Bune, Monday evening, and he is retiring, and I'd like to move approval for the application of that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor, you touched on this a little last week. Recognition of the 2013 Best Practice Award for Innovation for the Cybrary Tarrant County Clerk, Mary Louise Garcia. But Mary Louise, if you'd come down to the podium. The Cybrary is Tarrant County Clerk's employee internet developed to share knowledge, rapidly disseminate information, and updates regarding new policies and procedures to its staff of more than 140 employees. Site also includes a community page for employees that public photos, online resources, a bulletin board, and other business-friendly features. The Texas Association of Counties presented Mary Louise with this award, 2013 Best Practice Award, during a ceremony in Austin last April that was held April the 10th through the 12th. And I would like at this time to present you with this plaque.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can I just take a moment and recognize a few people before we do this? I think by receiving this recognition and award from TAC confirms what our team believed to be true. There is so much institutional knowledge, vast information utilized by our team, our department, resources, databases, forms that were loosely connected. So I would like to take a moment to thank who I believe played the most prominent roles. So when I speak your name, will you please stand up and approach the podium? Laura Yanis, who was at the very beginning in the infancy of this project 2 years ago with Chief Jeff Nicholson and convinced me this was the right project to do. Laura? Nina Carty, once the site was foundationally built, Nina stepped in and assisted in developing individual sites and applications. She was part of that team. And finally, Bob Kahn, who actually built our SharePoint environment in which the Cybrary lives. Mr. Kahn? I would also like to recognize my senior management team who supported the effort and encouraged their team members to come in and sit with this group of people and help us decide how this was going to happen. This is who really helped us make this TAC award possible, because of you three and our team. And last but not least, I want to thank Chief Jeff Nicholson, who had the vision and who had his leadership in place during this entire project and made this happen. Thank you for your time, Commissioners. We appreciate it, and we look forward to moving forward with another award. Thank you, team. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mary Louise, and all of you for what you do.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thank
Judge, before we move on,
Just 1 second. Would you like to make a motion to receive and file or to?
Oh, so move.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Before we move on, I'd like to express the gratitude of this court and of the people of Tarrant County to Gerald Smith, who is retiring after 22 years of service as director of our Human Services Department. Over that period of time, he has helped thousands of our citizens and their families who have come upon a rough patch in life and just need a little assistance to make it over to the other side. Gerald has served compassionately and well in this position, and we wish him well with his future endeavors. And just so you'll know, there's a reception in his honor this afternoon at the Resource Connection in the boardroom of the Welcome Center. It's from 1 to 3 o'clock. If you can, go by and express your appreciation to Gerald. If you can't go by the reception, he's here in the room. Don't let him get away from here without telling him how much you appreciate his efforts. Thank you, Gerald.
Gerald, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Gerald.
it. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda,
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the
except for
consent
the
agenda.
item which has been withdrawn.
Yes. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, on item number 1, we're requesting that the court receive and file the annual independent financial audit for Tarrant County for the fiscal year which ends September 30th, 2012.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I guess I'm going to make my standard little statement that the audit refers to the fact that these are management's financial statements, but we are once again required to put a disclosure in there about OPEB that I disagree with. But if we don't put it in there, then our auditors will give us a bad opinion, and therefore I just want them to understand and everybody else to understand that that is not management's opinion with regards to the OPEB liability, because I don't believe there's a liability that exists there. And we can at any point in time cancel that program, and as such, that liability is not an enforceable liability. So, duly noted, you're going to hear that every year. So just be prepared over and over. Any other comments or discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, if we can go to item 2, we're requesting that the court approve Second Amendment to the commercial lease agreement between the hospital district and Tarrant County as it relates to the resource connection.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting the court approve amendment number 4. This is a commercial lease agreement also between the hospital district and Town North Associates.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 4. We're requesting that the court approve the First Amendment, and this again is a commercial lease agreement between the hospital district and Mid-Cities Health Facilities Partner.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 5, we're requesting that the court authorize the submission of an FY14 and 15 other victim assistance grant application to the Office of the Attorney General for the This is the Victim Assistance Program located within the District Attorney's Office.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 6, we're requesting that the Court approve a resolution recognizing the creation of the Tarrant County Fort Worth Arlington Continuum of Care Board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I have a
Discussion?
comment, please.
Okay.
Some discussion. The Carron County Homeless Coalition has served as the Continuum of Care agency for this county for the past couple of years. This allows them to set up a separate but related organization to comply with changes in the federal law. It requires the appointment of a board of directors for that new agency. And Judge, I'm going to ask that you appoint me to that board of directors.
I'll move that we appoint Commissioner Brooks to that new Continuum of Care Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Does that vote count for the initial vote?
Yeah, we had two motions on the
We
floor.
have two motions on the floor.
They were combined.
An amended motion.
Yeah, we had two motions. Are y'all okay with one vote for both motions? We're there. Are y'all okay with one vote for
We're
the
good.
motion?
No objection.
Okay.
Members of the Court, we're going to skip just briefly number 7 and move to number 8. We're requesting that the Court approve an MOU between Arlington ISD and Tarrant County for the purpose of working jointly with the county towards the reduction of truancy and the improvement of graduation rates for children and youth within Arlington ISD boundaries.
Judge and members of the Court, present with us is Dr. Aaron Reich. He is a Secretary of the Board of Trustees of Arlington ISD. Dr. Reich, would you please come forward? For the past 2 years, I have been working with Arlington ISD trying to understand truancy and how we should go about dealing with this growing concern in our community. Of the information that I have obtained, truancy is deemed as a gateway social problem that tends to lead to other social problems in later lives of our young children, young people. But truancy is complicated. It is sometimes intangible. So in order for us to really understand it and collaborate and work together, we have to have a support or sponsorship, if you will, from the top level leadership of Tarrant County and the school district. The purpose of this memorandum of understanding is to share data, resources, and knowledge base, and to build out a comprehensive truancy management model. It doesn't obligate either party to any financial obligation, and it can be terminated at any time with advance notice. Dr. Reich will be here to speak on behalf of Arlington ISD, and I know Commissioner Brooks has been working on truancy with Fort Worth ISD for the past 2 years as well. Perhaps there are areas of collaboration that we can work on to avoid any unnecessary duplication. And this is a good time for us to talk about that. And maybe, Judge, I know you have talked to me quite often about this as well. So, Dr. Aaron Reich, would you please make some comments?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. Judge Whitley, Commissioners, on behalf of Arlington ISD and the Board of Trustees, I'm very happy to be here today. Commissioner Wynn and myself have had numerous meetings discussing the opportunities of shared collaboration, what that could yield and bring as rewards for our school district and for the county as a whole. And there are many initiatives that we have within our district, and there are initiatives that the county has, and it just makes perfect sense to combine forces and do what we can to try and eliminate truancy. If our kids aren't in school, they're not learning. If they're not learning, as Commissioner Wynn suggested, it's gateway. They're either not going to graduate, they're going to end up in a potential crime situation when they grow up, or as youth, they are not going to contribute substantially as citizens in our community. And that is what we're all about as a school district, is to prepare our children so that they are respectable, contributing citizens in our community, and that they are successful in any career that they choose post-high school, whether that's through college or some other career path. We want them to be as successful as possible. There are several initiatives that we have in our district. Currently, right now, we have a strategic plan, a very bold strategic plan that we have implemented. We're about at the end of year one of it. And community partnership is one of the underpinnings, the strong point of foundation for this strategic plan. One of our goals in that strategic plan is to have 100% graduation rate. It's bold. It's lofty. With our truants, we cannot get there. We just simply can't get there. We have to work on that issue. Our attendance rates are great in the district. We have 90-95% attendance rates. So it's real easy to sometimes overlook the kids that are missing perhaps 10%, 20% of their school days. If they're not there that amount of time, guess what? They're really at risk. And they're at risk for themselves, for their families if they have a viable family structure, and they're at risk with us as a community, as a city of Arlington, as a county of Tarrant County. So with this memorandum of understanding, it is our great hope that we will combine resources, have shared collaboration with a joint committee that will assess what we can do, what we can possibly think of along the lines of prevention, intervention, and management. There's been some really remarkable things already happening. Justice Matt Hayes has been having a truancy court where he actually has gone to the local high school, one of our local high schools, so that our kids are worked through the process but still in school. And it's been very effective. And I know Judge Davis was very interested in that as well. And we are just so excited to have this opportunity for collaboration, for partnership. I believe our district has a lot of opportunity to help on the prevention side, and then certainly together we can work on the intervention and the whole management of this process. We're all of the same taxpayers. Let's work together and make this a great solution for our kids and our community. So thank you very much for honoring this and considering this today.
Thank you very much for being here.
Your Honor, I'd just like to point out, and Commissioner Wynn, I applaud you for your efforts in this area. But we've had a countywide truancy program going on since at least 2008. In 2009, we received a grant. 2010, we submitted a grant application authorized by this court and was approved funding from the North Central Texas Council of Governments to establish a pilot restorative justice truancy court program. That was in conjunction with the Fort Worth ISD. In 2011, Commissioners Court approved and funded consulting services from the National Center for School Engagement to provide quality student-based research addressing attendance and dropout rates in Fort Worth, Arlington, and the Abatement ISDs. In 2011, a white paper was developed addressing the problems related to Tarrant County truancy, school dropout, and proposed solutions. In 2012, We established a countywide juvenile justice truancy planning group addressing truancy prevention, intervention, and management, which led to the development of a county-wide truancy solutions plan. And this year, countywide forums and meetings addressing proposed truancy projects such as school district-specific truancy planning committees, school district-specific memoranda of understanding, and school district-specific policy and practices surveys. My concern is that we not be working in silos, that truancy is a problem that affects every school district and every family and child who lives within our county. And I would like to see collaboration such that we have a seamless system of truancy justice across this county, such that justice in the Fort Worth ISD is identical to justice in the Arlington ISD, which is identical to justice in the other 14 ISDs that comprise our great county. So my suggestion is that we all work together, eliminate the silos, and let's get down to helping our children.
One of the things we might do is be a better job of reporting the results of all those programs that we've got and getting those folks to come in here and give us some sort of a idea of what the results have been.
My comment is, for the past 28, 29 months, I have attended meetings after meetings and after meetings. And the purpose of those meetings, based on my personal experience, is to have another meeting. And nothing was really generated from that. And I also learned that truancy is very unique to each school district. I also learned that each school district takes truancy as a proprietary issue to that school district. As a result, I understand the needs for collaboration so that we can eliminate unnecessary expense and duplications. But certain programs have to be customized toward the needs of the school district and the dynamics within that area. So I agree with Commissioner Brooks totally, wholeheartedly, but I believe we also need a certain mechanism of customization as well. Working directly with Arlington ISD, we have cultivated trust among JP 2, JP 7, Constable in Precinct 2, Constable in Precinct 7, and my office with the superintendent as well as the school board. And this trust, this level of collaboration really have gone beyond the normal work routine. We essentially communicate with each other on a regular basis and sometimes even after hours with a ton of focus in coming up with a tangible model to deal with it, and we are really close. And with that said, I'm all ears, and I'm willing to collaborate, and I'm sure Dr. Reich feels the same way.
Absolutely.
But essentially, truancy is a very complicated and very large issue. Dealing with it on a county-wide may not be as effective. It needs to be localized, and it needs to be managed at the school board level. That's my opinion, based on my experience.
I don't argue with your opinion, nor do I disapprove of this program. I merely wish to point out that, yes, you're quite right. There is no cookie-cutter approach that can be applied to every district across the county. However, there are best practices that exist in counties across America where they have approached this topic holistically. And it is merely my suggestion that we adopt that practice for Tarrant County so that you can pick one from column A and one from column B and design a program from that comprehensive list of best practices that best fits the need of the local situation.
One of the studies that we have been engaging in and came up with a recommendation, the Tarrant County Truancy Intervention Committee, and that committee generated a report along with a PowerPoint presentation. Les, you were a very active member in that. And that committee is a county-wide committee, right? And it generated a number of recommendations. And among those recommendations is the creation of a truancy court, okay? Based on my experience and interaction with Dallas County, the cost of running one of those courts per year is $1 million. And one court county-wide is not feasible. So that means we have to create at least 4 courts, each in each commissioner precinct. And that means that will incur an additional $4 million on an annual basis. Now, is there any data pointing toward the success of those courts? If there are, I have not seen it. So even though the recommendations are there, I think it's very important that we work with each school district to customize that solution to fit. In Precinct 2, Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2, which is the new JP that we just appointed, Carron, and as well as Judge Hayes, they basically take the approach of bringing truancy court to the school that has the highest level of truancy. In Arlington, that would be Sam Houston, and Lamar would be next. And that approach seems to be working. At the elementary level, we have a pilot program with DRS, okay? And at the elementary level, in the second year of the program, there were 1,719 absences prior to the mediation. And this number was reduced to 286 after the mediation. Now, that's a great improvement, and without requiring a lot of expenses and a lot of complicated work. So I really believe that collaboration, identifying best practice is important, but we also need to look for ways to customize that solution, the truancy model, to each area so that we can achieve quicker and better results.
I think we're both saying the same thing, and
Yes,
I'm not
we are.
trying to claim ownership of this issue. I'm merely trying to point out the work that has gone on historically.
Is there a motion on this?
There's not yet.
I move approval.
I will second.
We have now a motion in several seconds.
Dr. Wright, as you can tell, we are very passionate about our children.
That's wonderful.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. Appreciate it. Look forward to working together.
Thank you.
Members of the court, we could go to item 7 under the Administrator's Office. Ms. McMillan is going to make this presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. We're asking today for you to consider the nomination of Trinity Tank Car, Inc. as a Texas Enterprise project. Trinity Tank Car is a subsidiary of Trinity Industries, and they currently own and operate facilities on Northeast 28th Street in Fort Worth and on Bailey Boswell Road in Saginaw. Both of these facilities are being converted to produce tank cars, which is a growing area for Trinity. These two facilities will work together as one unit in production, with the production beginning at one facility and being completed at the second facility. Over the next 5 years, Trinity will make a capital investment in excess of $22.5 million at these two locations, with approximately $12.5 million going for new machinery and equipment and another $10 million for expanded facility system upgrades. This investment will allow Trinity to expand its tank car industry in the county and will allow them to retain the employment of the 536 full-time employees they have at these two locations. The enterprise project designation will allow Trinity to receive state grants and incentives that are based on specific hiring criteria, employment levels, and meeting certain new investment levels over the 5-year period. As you may remember, Tarrant County has a total of 9 designations that they can use during a biennium on these enterprise project designations. In the biennium that begins September 1, 2011, Tarrant County has only used 2 designations so far, these being 2 for the Bell Helicopter Consolidation Plant in Fort Worth. Based on the size of Trinity's project, Trinity would be eligible to receive a single designation. And this designation, along with the 2 that are held by Bell, would complete the 3 that we can use for Fort Worth, because we're designated, you have 9, but you can only use 3 within one municipality. However, the new biennium will begin again in September of this year, so we will again have all 9 designations to use for the next 2-year period. Melissa Munoz with Ryan Company and Madison Sequinvia.
Yeah, I know how I feel, don't you?
I thought you'd appreciate that one. Madison with Trinity Industries are here. I'm going to have them come forward and answer any questions you may have on the project.
Before you bring them up, is this a matter of maintaining the current level of employment, or will it increase the employment?
Right now, it's just mainly maintaining the current level of employment. I'll let Madison come and speak toward that.
So this is business retention.
It is a retention project. And again, there is no county incentives being requested for this. This is strictly a state incentive program. And this isn't currently in an enterprise zone area. And when they do that, you have to hire any new employees that will be hired over the course. 25% of those, 25% of those have to be economically disadvantaged or live within the enterprise zone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, lady.
Judge and Commissioners, on behalf of Trinity Industries, we thank you for your time and thank you for considering Trinity for the Texas Enterprise Program. Trinity is proud to have been in Tarrant County since 1969, and we take pride in the excellent workforce we have here. So we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions, and they are not requesting the tax abatement. I would move approval of the nomination of Trinity Tank Car, Inc. as the enterprise project and submittal to the enterprise project application.
I will second your motion.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all again for your involvement in the community.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
If I could just say 1 minute, I'd like to thank Lisa. She's done a lot of, she's helped us quite a bit over the course of the last few months in pulling this together for the commissioners. And so I just wanted to make a public statement thanking her.
Thank you.
I didn't pay her to say that either.
Yeah, Ms. Tidwell.
We have one item for the court to consider this morning, and that's to receive and file the auditor's report related to the exit review for Tarrant County Constable Precinct 1. The constable's response is attached. We're in agreement and are working to correct the items noted.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Schneider.
Risk Management Board is recommending the payment of the claim to Richard Gonzalez in the amount, it's a vehicle accident, in the amount shown on your agenda.
This is the different.
Different Richard Gonzalez.
Different.
Okay.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Glenn.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Receive and file personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I'll use my time productively.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn.
Beecham? Nope.
He left. He was.
No, he's sitting back there and he's hiding.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning. Morning.
We have two items for your consideration this morning. We have the first item, which is bid number 2013-047. That's the annual contract for roof and repair services for the countywide. To the vendors listed on your core communique, the bid recommendations were based on per hourly rate and percentage markup. I'd also like to add that the bid submitted by J. Reynolds and Company was considered non-compliant because they did not sign their
That's why he's sitting back there in the back. You want to come up here?
their bid proposal page.
Well, he shouldn't do.
He just threw you under the bus.
It's not the first time, Commissioner.
Not
Judge, we did look at it. Now, we did not do an evaluation because of that, but we did look at the price, and it was determined they would have fallen into the top 5, probably in about third position on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is for request for qualifications, RFQ number 2013-074. This is for the suppliers of vaccines manufactured by American Company for the Public Health Department to the vendors listed on your communique. We're asking for approval to conduct negotiations with those vendors.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any appointments?
I have one. Jeanette Cook to the Historical Commission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Jeanette Cook to the Historical Commission. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have several items to bring to you this morning. The first is the monthly update from the hospital district. Mr. Early is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Mr. Cox for putting you all in such a good mood. Mr. Beecham sometimes doesn't do that, so I usually follow Mr. Beecham, so thank you all very much for Mr. Cox, thank you. You did an excellent job. A couple things that I wanted to give you all a briefing on in that last Thursday the board met, and you need to know what your board appointees are doing because I think it's excellent work. What we did was we put together a budget workshop, and we looked at the overall policies of JPS. We looked at those policies and then began the process of overlaying that over a budget. So we looked at policies. We began to define the goals for those policies that we as a management team would define. Then we looked through the strategies and the tactics by which to accomplish those. So you're getting a great alignment. It's a very productive board, and I think you all should be proud of your appointees because they're helping us as a management team, and as a management team, we're helping them as we define the overall policy and then go through the process of defining those. And as I mentioned, last time I came and briefed you, we're going to put a greater emphasis, not to the demise of anything or not to a lesser degree anything else that we currently do, but we're going to put an emphasis on our geriatrics program, a behavioral mental health program stronger than what we have now, graduate medical education, including research and academic advancements for JPS, an infant mortality effort that we will combine with the good work that's already been done in this community, but we'll look at it from a clinic standpoint. And as I mentioned last time, we'll look at it from the maternal health standpoint, the prenatal care standpoint, and the delivery standpoint, all of which JPS plays a key role, particularly last year in the 6,000 plus births that we had at JPS. That makes a factor in what you do upstream and downstream to the quality of life of those women having children.
Those of us on this court appreciate certainly that number one priority.
Yes, sir. Not that you're close to it, but I appreciate your interest in geriatrics.
It's geriatrics, not MHMR.
Exactly.
Just in case you were a little concerned about that.
And I appreciate your interest, so I listed it first. The other thing that we have is our overall efforts to population health. And you'll hear a lot more about that because that's obviously the way the federal government is moving. But quite frankly, that's the transformation of healthcare, and I agree wholeheartedly that's the way it should go. We should be looking at our chronic diseases. We're allowed to keep people alive longer. It's wonderful. You saw the recent publications of a child being born now.
Have you ever not been allowed to keep people alive longer?
No, we just are trying to do a much better job at doing that.
Okay, just thought I'd check.
Yeah, exactly. No, we never go the other way on that, ever. But one of the things that we do want to do is we want to look at issues such as diabetes, our issues with HIV, our AIDS clinic, other things that we do that are diseases that we can manage and help people. And the earlier you get them into your process, the better off you're going to be. As you all know, the legislature, so that really was a...
Before you go on.
Yes.
That list of priorities that you just went through.
Yes.
I'm pleased to hear, because I think it hits just the right points for what our safety net hospital is going to be post health care reform. I've been asking for years what we're going to be in a totally insured environment, or what approaches a totally insured environment. And that requires a certain amount of strategic planning and goal setting. I'm glad to see that the Board of Managers and your administration are beginning to focus on those issues and outcomes. And certainly I would like to express my deep sense of satisfaction that HIV and AIDS is now just one more manageable chronic disease instead of a death sentence.
I agree, and through medical advancement and a lot of work on citizens and a lot of effort, the statements that were made in 1983 and 1982 give you the luxury of talking about managing that disease, not the death sentence that it always presented for us. So that's a huge effort on behalf of a lot of people, and thank you for your efforts. As you all know, the legislature ends on May 27th. Exactly. I thought I would get an amen from that. And we are looking forward to that as well. And we won't know probably for disproportionate share dollars and where we go and what that means to us till the final hours of the session. There's a lot of unfortunate contentiousness down there right now. The House and the Senate are a little bit frustrated with each other. But our local delegation is working well, and I'm certainly proud of them as they move forward to look not only at our best interest, but all the issues you all have. So we won't really know where some of that funding level is. The other thing that we are doing, and I mentioned this briefly, but I think it's very important for you all to understand this. If you looked at one single thing JPS could do to improve, it would be talking to our patients. And we continue to do that. I gave you a briefing on this before, but we've continued to do that every week. The management team, up to 21 folks, go out and round on patients, both at our main campus, and now we'll be starting that in our clinics as well. We go into the patient's room. We ask them, what kind of service did you receive from JPS? How can we improve? How can we do things better? What do you want to make sure that we don't change? And that's hugely helpful to us as we figure out how to make JPS a better place. And I think that's probably going to be the thing that you'll see in the next year to two that will make JPS far better than where it is right now, because we'll be listening far more to our patients. And that's a huge benefit. The other thing I want to give you an update on very briefly is the waiver. You all are familiar with the waiver. But we submitted, on behalf of Region 10, our entire region, we submitted 111 projects. Of those 111 projects, 99 of them were accepted. That's pretty phenomenal. And we're also very proud of the fact that we were the largest region, largest facility of the big hospitals to be accepted by CMS. The others haven't received their letters yet. So I think that's a compliment. One could say we just happened to come up first, but I don't think they hit the toughest ones first. They hit the ones that they felt the most confidence in. We worked a lot with HHSC. HHSC, the Health and Human Services Commission, worked a lot with the feds at the CMS level, and I think that allowed us to be further ahead in this ballgame. Now, of those 99 projects, not all of them were totally, fully funded, and we have between now and October 1st to go back and work with CMS, and they're having better understanding of the projects and more knowledge about those projects. But one of the things that I'm particularly proud of is going back to population health, and particularly one issue that I know that you all are very concerned about with the homeless project, particularly in light of what the Fort Worth Foundation is doing for us, is our projects on homelessness and trying to address that through our district projects were approved at 100%. And we feel very good, and that will catapult us even further in dealing with that population. That's real important to you as stewards of the county money, because if we can take those individuals and stop having them come to the emergency room in a revolving door approach and then we release them to a shelter at best or the street, if we put them in a clinic setting and manage their health care better, it's going to be cost savings to you as commissioners in this county. So that's something that you all can take back to you into your precincts and say, this is what we've done through the hospital district to be smart stewards of the county's money. And that will be as a result of your efforts too. So we feel good of the individual JPS projects. We submitted 23. Only 2 of those projects were rejected initially, and again, we have until now, from now until October, to work on those. Some of the projects that were rejected were really rejected simply because they have 2 categories. They have what they call menu categorized projects, which are on a menu that have some confines to them. You do this, you do that, and I don't want to call them cookie cutter, but they're more standardized through CMS. You have the right to go to other projects outside of that menu. Those were the projects that were categorically denied at this point until CMS gets more information. Now, the one thing that I would mention to y'all is this is not a block grant. This is not free money. This is not thank you, federal government. This is the transformation of healthcare. This is something that you get paid money if you show outcomes. So as time goes on, the proof in the pudding is for JPS and us and others and our partners in Region 10 to create those outcomes. It's a lot of hard work.
Beware of the flip side of that coin.
There is a flip side.
If you don't produce outcomes, you don't get
paid. You don't get the money. And I think that's the right way to deal with federal monies. I have never been a fan of them saying, here's $10 million, do as you wish. I think that's a level of accountability that I don't appreciate nor like, and we don't subscribe to it. So I think that we should be where we are. So I'm proud of what we've done. I want to thank you as commissioners for your tolerance and your briefings and understanding that. I want to thank you, Judge, for your efforts in the efforts that we've created in this region. Our elected officials, I think you all are a little bit better briefed than some of the others, and I think your role and the others' role I've talked to around the state, I think we're a little more advanced, and I don't mean to brag, we are.
Robert, if the other regions do not get or do not submit for the full programs and there are dollars left over, then will they go back and rethink?
They will. There'll be more dollars available for those regions that are in contention for projects that just couldn't get funded based on money. So we'll have another sweep at those dollars, and we'll probably know that around the mid-October.
The other thing, as you talked about strategic planning, you talked about budget, we've also talked about maybe a joint meeting with your board and our court. I wish that you and GK would get together and make sure that that's scheduled by the end of June.
We will.
By the end of June.
We appreciate that. We're going to work our best to make that happen. Mr. Manius and I have already discussed that, trying to put y'all's schedules and the board schedules in the same planet. And make that happen. Not an easy task, but we'll make it happen.
Okay. Any other questions? Or?
Can you speak to the risk of not being able to achieve some of the goals or the requirements of the waiver? what risk would
The
you?
biggest risk and the challenge that you have is if you want to be effective about these projects, you're going to need the personnel to do it. And you have two options for personnel. You can take your existing staff, which we've done in a lot of cases at JPS, and we said we're going to add more to your plate. Sorry, but that's life. We've got to conform. There's another aspect of that and that is we will look at hiring some folks to do what needs to be done for that project. That is a huge risk by hiring the FTEs and then not reaching your objectives at the end of the day, and you're not going to have funding for it. So you can be left with FTEs that you hired for a specific project, and at the end of the day, you didn't get the money for that project because you failed on your outcomes. That can be a significant hit. I also think that and we run this risk, you have told people what you can get. And I think the federal government's very smart about that. You can get $10 million. If you fail, you've got to come back to boards, commissions, elected officials, and the taxpayers and say, we didn't get our $10 million.
Because we failed.
Because we failed. We didn't hit that mark. Some of them will be challenging because the failure will not be on the part of the hard work. It will not be on the fact that we just didn't do it. It's the fact that you are dealing with some really difficult issues. Some of the issues of chronic disease are going to be challenging. Just saying you're going to reduce diabetes when you've got to ask an individual to change their lifestyle is a little bit harder than whatever you put into it. But we won't be successful on every one, but we'll give it our best effort to do that, at least from JPS's standpoint. And I know the others. I'm proud of MHMR, and I know that public health will work very hard and the entities that we have within this county. And I'm also very proud of our partners in the private sector. And I don't say that flippantly. THR and Baylor and the other facilities have really come through to put a lot of good programs together. And I think it will make a big difference for this region.
Do you find yourself having to augment your management process to make sure that achievement is done, or you basically just run the programs like the way it was?
It's not we run them like they were, but we put a greater emphasis. And now that you have the outcomes, I think we tried our best. But when you have outcomes and you have dates and you have times and you must hit this level by this time, it just makes things better for you. So we are doing some of the things that we have done, and we've tried to use the federal funds to enhance what we're doing. Some of the federal funds will allow us the seed money that we could not have started that program if we didn't have it. We wanted to. We knew what we wanted to do, but we just didn't have the money to do it. So I think that will go a long way. I think it's very good for all of us to have. The question that cynics ask is, well, what happens when the waiver ends? And my answer to that is, if you're successful and you do well and you truly transform healthcare, why would they not continue to fund it in the future? So we'll see how that goes.
That makes sense.
Sorry for my longer briefing today. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to deal with them. But thank you very much, and thank you all for your effort.
Thank you.
We know that you're up to the task.
Thank you. I'm going to do my best. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Members of the court, if we could go to item B. This concerns a briefing of a tax abatement for the Carolina Beverage Group. Ms. McMillan is here to address the court at this time.
Carolina Beverage Group is a manufacturer and distributor of national brand energy drinks and other beverages, and they're currently located in Mooresville, North Carolina. And they're looking to expand their distribution and manufacturing operations into the North Texas, Oklahoma area. Currently, they're considering a location that's an existing 399,000 square foot facility at the Alliance Gateway in Fort Worth. This facility is located on the corner of Park Vista Boulevard at West Park Parkway, and it was built in 2008, but has never been occupied. So they will be leasing this facility over the time period. Plans for this location call for the investment of approximately $5 million in real property improvements. And then Carolina Beverage would launch operations with 2 manufacturing lines in 2014 and have the ability to grow to 4 lines over the next 3 to 5 years. The company plans to invest approximately $22 million in new equipment and machinery by the end of 2014 when they begin operations. and then add an additional $18 million in personal property with the addition of the third and fourth lines by the end of 2018. Total improvement costs are estimated at over $45 million, with approximately $5 million in real property investment and $40 million in new business personal property. The company plans to employ a minimum of 60 new full-time employees with the beginning of the operations, and that can grow to more than 225 full-time jobs as the additional lines are brought online. The annual salaries for management and maintenance professionals range from $67,000 to $85,000 a year, and then annual wages for the warehouse, the blending, the quality assurance, and administrative employees range from about $13 to $14 an hour. The company does provide health and other insurance benefits for the employees, the full-time employees at the plant. The City of Fort Worth has approved a 10-year tax abatement up to a maximum of 70% for the location of this project. Should Tarrant County Commissioners approve looking at this tax abatement, the staff is proposing an abatement of up to 50% for a period of 10 years. The base abatement would be 30% for the investment of the $45 million in the phase completion dates, with a minimum of 60 full-time employees throughout the term of the abatement, and, of course, meeting the minimum Tarrant County and DBE construction, supply, and services spending. There would be built-in percentage reductions if the employment falls below that 60 full-time employees, or there was less than 25% Tarrant County residents located at the site, and there would be reductions for any deficiencies for meeting the Tarrant County and DBE spending requirements. They would also be able to earn additional abatement up to 20% for additional full-time jobs, for additional construction and construction spending in terms of DBE and Tarrant County spending, and then also resident employment.
Just to be clear, if they earn the total additional abatements of 20%, that's how you get to the 50%.
That is correct.
That is our maximum participation.
That is correct. So this incentivizes the company then to more quickly add those employees. As you see, 1% for each 10 jobs. So they'll start with a 60 base, and they have plans to gain up to 225. So the sooner they gain those additional employees, the higher their percentage abatement can grow. So the maximum abatement is 50%.
So they could get to basically, if they were to hit either one of those, if they could get all three, then they'd only get 11% on jobs. But if they go all the way up to the 225, they're going to get 16 on the job. They have a potential of getting 16 on the jobs if they go to their full.
Correct.
If they go to their full requirement.
Correct. And if it goes even higher.
If they go above 225.
Correct.
Okay.
So based on the investment of the full $45 million and the 50% abatement, should they reach the max for the full 10 years, they could receive a total 10-year tax abatement of up to $547,000. That's a 10-year period from the county. The hospital district taxes are not being recommended for abatement on this project. Of course, over that same time period, the county will continue to receive tax revenues from the unabated portion of the improvements, as well as the current base value of the land and the facility as it sits on the tax rolls today. Andy Kerner with Suntex Capital Partners, and who is representing Carolina Beverage Group, is here, and I'm going to have him come forward to talk a little bit more about the project.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. On behalf of Carolina Beverage Group in Mooresville, North Carolina, we are excited to be looking at moving to North Texas here very shortly, and we can't move fast enough. We've looked at facilities all across North Texas and Oklahoma. We are the leading manufacturer of functional beverages, which is a funny term, but it's energy drinks, juice drinks, and the like. We believe, humbly, we are the best manufacturer in the United States. We have outgrown our facilities in North Carolina. We'll produce upwards of about 40 million cases of product this year. And North Texas and this part of the country has the biggest hole in terms of capabilities by other manufacturers. So we'll be bringing jobs very quickly. We'll start with one line as fast as we can. We've actually ordered the equipment already. Actually, we've ordered lines Line 2 equipment as well. We will be putting the first line in and be up and producing by February of 2014, and our goal is to put the second line in by May of 2014 as well. I hope to get to 4 lines. We believe we can actually fit 5 lines in. It's roughly $10 million a line average, so we will probably be topping $50 million of investment beyond our improvement of the facility. Just to let you know, as we look through all these facilities in different municipalities, besides having a fantastic facility and a great location in the Alliance area, actually the acceptance and support of Fort Worth and both the City Council, the Economic Development, the Chamber, Commissioner Fickus, Lisa, and her team here was one of the factors that tipped us over for this area. So Suntex Capital Partners is located in Dallas. I'm an operating partner there, and we are very pleased to consider this opportunity, and thank you for your all support.
We'd love to have you over here in Fort Worth.
We're excited about it.
County.
Actually, our managing partner is from Fort Worth, so
well,
it's
just bring your whole partnership over here. Along with you could probably find some space out there near that building.
We might, but
do y'all work? Do you have continual operations of that line, or is it mostly an 8-hour day shift?
No, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week.
24/7.
We shut down generally. We'll shut down over right after Christmas holidays for 2 weeks, and that's when we usually do our capital improvements. But it's a continuous operation. So, and we cannot get in here quickly enough.
Well, we're excited. Thank you very much for
Thank you all for your support. Appreciate it.
Well, any questions or anybody has? Would you like to make a? Well, this is a briefing item, so we're not going to do anything today.
Thank you.
When do you expect this to come back to us?
Would you like, can we do something today?
Well, what I'd like to know, if there's no questions, then I'm going to take that as the consensus for the county staff to move forward with developing an abatement agreement based on these terms. And what we will do is bring it back when we can. We generally have to wait until the City of Fort Worth has actually executed their participation agreement so that they are participating in tax abatement, and then we can move forward. So it'll be sometime after we get their executed agreements back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finally, members of court, on item C, this is the legislative issues piece. Mr. Mendez has included in your court material his memoranda. I would like to point out that you might want to take a look at the overview issue. He has identified 4 areas that are of interest to us, that being the budget, the appraisal cap issue, the transparency bill from the comptroller's office, and also transportation. There is disagreement on a bunch of these. I think we came out really well, really good on the appraisal cap issue. It looks like it's not going to move at all. The budget concerns everyone because of one of the sole thing that legislature has to do is pass the budget. So if they don't pass this budget, that means they're going into special session. Pass the budget. So it's all laid out in Mr. Mendez's memorandum, and we'll try to answer any questions the court might have at this time.
Any questions? Thank you.
If not, Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
Okay, then we'll recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. Having returned from our closed session and there being no business at this time, we are adjourned.